Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Ryan with Michigan Storm Chasers, and we are going to go over the incoming snow potential for tomorrow morning and into the afternoon. So, starting first off, we do have a winter weather advisory in effect for a pretty big portion of the state here. We see it highlighted here in purple, and it goes back west into Wisconsin and Minnesota. But for the Michigan area, we do see this winter weather advisory all the way south, as far south as North Metro Detroit area, over here toward Lansing, up toward Grand Rapids. So the bigger cities here in South Central Michigan are in on this winter weather advisory. And then the further north we go, the higher the amounts are going to be. So if you are north of Grand Rapids, north of Lansing, north of Detroit, you are in this winter weather advisory all the way up to Mackinac, and then parts of the eastern UP as well, getting in on that advisory as well. So each individual section does have their own little different wordings, but overall, 3 to 6 inches is the going rate for this, unless you're further south here towards Grand Rapids, Lansing, and Detroit. We're going to talk about that here in a second. So first and foremost, that is your winter weather advisory. We're going to switch over here to timing and like the individual areas and stuff like that. So we're going to run through this model here. This is what we call the RRFS model. It's a fairly new model that's just come out I believe it was last year they're testing it. And then this year, they're really going to try to start implementing this and kind of replace the newer models. So this is one of the models we're going to look very closely to for its accuracy, but I do think it has a pretty good handle on how we're kind of looking at this situation evolving. So starting with this afternoon's model run, we're going to run through the afternoon here into tomorrow morning. We're going to start seeing this blue and green out to our west here. You see it approaching the West Michigan shoreline here. This is going to be 1 in the morning according to this model here. But watch as this kind of moves further east. We don't really start seeing this is like the initial band of precip. I'm not sure we're going to have any snow falling with this band. I would expect the majority of precip to start falling back here, still over the lake here into Wisconsin. That's going to push across the lake. So this initial band is possible, but I don't think it's going to hit the ground. I think it's going to evaporate there in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere. So I believe the bulk of the snow moves on land here right about this time frame, which is going to be right around the 6 a.m. to, we'll go ahead and say 8 a.m. time frame, give or take an hour or two. I think the 6 to 7 a.m. time frame, we're going to start seeing our first snowflakes in the western parts of Michigan here, and that's going to push its way east very quickly here. But I want you to notice these dark blue bands here. This is a very heavy, intense snow band, so it's going to move very quickly, but it's going to be very significant. It's going to dump up to 1 inch per hour rates for areas along, like we said, from Lansing, Grand Rapids, Flint north. I do see this becoming very rapid accumulation possible, especially the further north you go here. So we see these dark blues, but up here in the UP, we see a little bit a moderate to lighter blue, but still some good snowfall rates tomorrow. There's a lot of lift with this system. It's going to get these snow rates to increase here as the morning goes on. Now this is going to be this in particular image right here is for 10 a.m. I believe, or 9 a.m. Sorry, 9 a.m. And this is going to be pretty much an entire state here engulfed in snow. But if you are down here in the like Detroit, I'll say Ann Arbor, over toward Jackson, Battle Creek, you guys are going to be mainly rain, if not just a brief change over to snow. Nothing is going to stick for you guys. It's going to be primarily a rain event the further south you go. I'll go ahead and highlight the area here in the next slide. I'm going to show you in terms of snowfall and the accumulation totals according to this model. Now, I think this model has a really good handle on things. It did bump a few more miles south. This is sleet. I want snow. This one right here. Bear with me here. This is a new model site we're going to be using. It's a better site, in my opinion. We're just going to take some time to get used to it. But this is the latest RRFS snowfall accumulation through Thursday here. Now, this is going to be this rain snow line is going to be the main talk of things. Right now, it did shift south in comparison to the previous morning model run. So it did shift south about a county worth, which is going to include now Grand Rapids, North Lansing, and then also that Flint area could get a few inches. We have those areas in 1 to 3, and then north of those areas in a 3 to 6 zone, which aligns pretty well with this model here. We're going to see these totals here. I don't know if you guys can see them or not, but in the center of this blue part here, we're seeing 5, 4.5, 5.5, right around the 4 to 5 inch range. The further south you go towards this rain snow line, we're getting 3, 2.7, 2, 2.3, or toward Port Huron, we have 1.9. So again, that rain snow line is going to determine who's going to get rain, who's going to get snow. And that is going to be very hard to pinpoint, as is the case usually with these winter systems. So if that shifts any further north or south, you're going to have that transition zone that's going to be kind of what we call the zone of uncertainty, or as we call it in our previous forecast, the black circle of uncertainty. And that's going to be the case here again for those types of areas, and roughly from Grand Rapids over to Lansing over toward the Flint area. But overall, what's going to happen with this is it's going to really depend on temperatures and your surface temperatures. If you look at our temperatures here, I do think we're going to see a pretty good representation of what we're looking at right around that time frame. We're seeing 30. Go ahead and move this through for the afternoon here. This is where the snow is falling here. We see right around 30 to 31 degrees up here in the northern part of Michigan, the UP, but down here, closer you get towards that Grand Rapids, Lansing, Detroit area, we're getting 37s, 34s. So even though those zones may see a more snow solution, it's going to mix in with rain, so it's going to cut you on your total. So overall thinking is this. We have the rain to the south. We have the 1 to 3 zone of uncertainty there from about Grand Rapids over to Carson City, over toward the Davison Flint area or toward Sandusky. And then north of those areas, a pure snow solution, 3 to 6 inches, all the way up into the eastern UP. And then 1 to 3 inches a little bit further west in the eastern UP as well. So that's what our current thinking is. As far as timing goes, again, start a bit right around that 6 a.m., 7 a.m. time frame for West Michigan, moves quickly across the state, and it should exit the state pretty rapidly. Right around the 3 p.m. time frame, we should see the last of the snow exiting the state. We go back to our hour by hour here, and we're going to look at this really closely. So where is this going to exit? So this is going to be their 9 a.m. time frame, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, and then it's exited by right around the 3 p.m. time frame there. So a very fast moving but hard hitting snow, 3 to 6 inches for a good majority of northern Michigan, 1 to 3 there, the cone of uncertainty. And that 1 to 3 could shift a little bit further south there based on the latest models. But we went ahead and stuck with our gut there and went with a little more of a northern solution. I know we had some people asking on the page, well, my weather app says this, or NWS says this. This is our thinking, right? Now, we're going to always say we're going to defer to the NWS because they are the masters at this. They are the ones who put the forecast out. They are the experts. We just put our idea out. This is simply our idea. It's not meant to match anything else. This is simply just our thoughts. So again, that 1 to 3 zone could shift north or south. I want to highlight that and I want to emphasize that. So if you guys are just north or south of that line, it's going to really depend on how the temperatures play out tomorrow. In terms of the snowfall rates, like I said, up to 1 inch per hour rates. So we could have some visibility reductions in the heaviest snow bands. So not going to be surprised by that. Winds shouldn't be a concern with this system. I do see the winds start to pick up the later you get in Thursday. We could see some gusts 25, 35 miles per hour. But again, it's not going to really line up with the heaviest of the snow. Excuse me. And also, it should be a pretty short-lived wind as well. But we could spark some lake effect snow showers through the weekend. We'll cover that here a little bit later on. But for right now, we're just kind of primarily focused on this event, which we just covered most everything here. But like I said, winter weather advisory in effect for a large portion of Michigan, 3 to 6 into the northern parts of Michigan, then that 1 to 3 zone from Grand Rapids over to Lansing over to Flint. So with that being said, I'll look for the let's look to some comments for some questions here. Scroll back up here. Any questions, guys? How should the roads be in the morning? So with snow arriving right around that 6 a.m. time frame, I'm going to say if you're up by Manistee, Fremont, Grand Rapids area toward the west side of Michigan, your morning commute may be impacted. But other areas, I'm going to more so expect the afternoon commutes to be a little bit worse off. Now, in terms of morning commutes, I'm really thinking like the 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. time frame. If you go to work, say like 9, 10 a.m., yeah, I can see your commute being impacted by this across that 3 to 6 and possibly the 1 to 3 zone as well. But again, the further west you go, the earlier it's going to be. The further east you go, the later it's going to be. Again, the 6 a.m. start and then probably about a 3 p.m. end time frame there. So I expect most impacts to be felt during like the rush hour lunch into the early afternoon commute hour. Okay, Brittany, that is a great question. I see a lot of people in the comments on our page and also here in this area or in this live stream, should I say, asking about freezing rain. There is some potential there, but again, it's going to be very short-lived. We see these temperatures here. Not that one. I'm going to go back here to the temperature graph For freezing rain, you have to be like right around that 31-degree mark, 30 to 31-degree mark. Anything above that's not going to really stick in terms of freezing rain. So we're going to have a very brief corridor of these temperatures right around that 30 to 31 degree. So it's not going to amount to much, if anything, although a glaze of ice, I would say possible, but again, it's going to melt pretty quickly. Excuse me. So freezing rain concerns are not going to be a concern. It's possible, but it's not going to be, we're not going to feel the impacts from it. Any freezing rain in the rain zone? So right now, no. We could see again, like I said, some brief mixing of snow in there, but I think the surface temperatures are going to be just too warm for freezing rain to get in there. Like I said, we're going to be getting 37, 38-degree surface temperatures there, not conducive to freezing rain at all. What's up, Caleb? Alexa says freezing rain in Owasso. Yeah, I'm going to say up toward that Grand Rapids to Lansing area would be that corridor right there in that 1 to 3 zones. That's going to be your transition zone where we could see some freezing rain mixed in there. In fact, I believe the Grand Rapids National Weather Service went ahead and put a glaze of ice possible into their winter weather advisory text. So they are kind of referencing that as a possibility. But again, it should be a pretty short lived. It may slick the roads up a bit up there, but overall, it should be pretty short lived for that area if anything happens at all. And again, as temperatures, I want to mention this as well for that rain zone. So temperatures early on in the day Thursday are right around that 32 to 31-degree mark. So if this precip arrives, we'll say just a tad bit earlier, we may have a period like an hour or so of some pure snow before it changes over to rain, or perhaps maybe some mixing going on there as well. But again, these temperatures, if you look closely here, these temperatures shoot right up. This is 7 a.m. We're already at freezing in Kalamazoo, and then over in Lenawee County and Arbor area we see 30. But the next hour it goes to 32, 33 degrees, 36, 40. Like it rises so quickly. The period for any type of mixing or snow in that rain zone is very closed off, very low. Yeah, it's going to be pretty steady rain. Not going to amount to much in the way of rainfall. I'm going to say right between like a quarter inch or so would be the mean, uh, the average, should I say? But between that tenth and I'll say 3/10 is what we're kind of expecting for rainfall accumulations. Northern Oakland, you're going to be close to that transition zone, so you could see some snowfall accumulation. But again, you probably will see rain mixing and cutting in on that. Alec asks, "Is this the last wintry system?" That's a great question. And I'm not going to go too far into the long term, but I will go ahead and show you guys. I covered this or mentioned it briefly about the lake effect snow potential here. If we look at our wind direction after this week, after the system, should I say, we see a northwesterly winds for a brief period of time, along with some cold air. That could spark some lake effect snow for lake effect prone areas. But in terms of system, we do have one more system on our radar for right now. Go ahead and switch over here to precip type. We're going to watch the system go off right here to the south. This is going to be Friday. Saturday, we see some of the snow there. Like we said, lake effect snow could kick in there. But again, that system does pass off to our south. Southwest Michigan, over here by Kalamazoo, might be brushed by that system. It's a little bit too early to say, in our opinion. Models are still bouncing around. This model has it going south. But again, if any snowfall out of Friday's system is going to be to our south and west. In terms of long term, looking at everything, I don't see much in the way of any systems to be watching out for. Again, this is into fantasy land, we call it. We don't really have any good precip chances next week. We are going to get warm though, so be prepared for that. We do see a cold front swinging through with mild temperatures, could reach 50 again next week in some spots. So I have to kind of watch that for some potential for thunderstorms next week. But again, that's a little bit too far out. Not going to say for sure, but the overall pattern is going to flip back to a warm pattern. In fact, if you guys have not already done so, we do have a long-term temperature forecast posted today on our page. I believe it might be pinned as well. We go over everything in depth in terms of temperatures, how we're looking in terms of late February as well. So, yes, Drew, this does have a fee. It's pretty expensive too. I see a lot of people saying their weather app is calling for freezing rain. So I'm going to go over this a little bit more in depth here. So for freezing rain, you want to have right around that 30 to 31 degree mark. If you hit 32 degrees, it's not freezing. That 31-degree mark is your sweet spot, and also 30 degrees as well. So again, these temperatures, if there's going to be freezing rain, it's going to be very, very short lasting. It's probably going to be in that 1 to 3 transition zone as well. It could sneak down into the rain zone here early on in the morning, but again, temperatures rise very quickly, so any impacts from that will quickly be diminished. I want to make that clear. In terms of Alex's question about the last wintry system, for a while, I'm going to say, yeah, for a while, probably for the next 10, 15 days. I don't see us having any type of other snow um, potential after this one. Possibly Friday, lake effect snow into the weekend. But once we hit Sunday and into next week, temperatures are too mild. In fact, I did have this graph pulled up here. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but this is your temperature graph for the next couple of next 15 days here. We do see next week, right around that Thursday, Friday time frame, we see 57 for a high according to this model, the GFS model for Ann Arbor. We see 54 here on Friday. And then as we get to the Saturday, Sunday of next weekend, we're getting back into the 30s, but still well above average here. We hit 51 again on Monday, and then long term, we're going to be warm. So I don't see much in the way of snow potential here um, past Sunday. An Arctic blast is coming? No, Jennifer. That's we kind of thought there could be one later in February, but we're kind of in that pattern now. It kind of happened a little earlier and weaker than we thought. Um, but no Arctic blast. The opposite of Arctic blast is what we call a torch, and we're looking at a torch for late February. I can go into this a little bit more in depth if you guys want to, but I just we posted something on the page earlier. If you guys want to see more about the late season or late February warm up we're expecting, highly suggest going back to our page and reading what we posted. Yes, I'm going to expect schools may close, or at least maybe delay or half day themselves up there in the 3 to 6. I think it's going to be more so a local basis. I think that a lot of these schools up there, and especially northern Michigan, are so to speak used to the snow in a way. So they may try to make a go of it. But again, 3 to 6 in the morning, it's probably going to cause some closings up there. Again, I'm no school closing expert, so I really can't speak with any knowledge on that. But just for a pure guess, I'm going to say it's going to be probably a local basis, whatever the decision maker would be. Man, Tyler, I got a lot of people asking here for these long-term questions here. Tyler asks if we think that this year will be a big severe weather year. I'm going to say the potential is there. So, covering this very briefly, if you remember last year was pretty active, and if we look to our Enzo phase, El Nino, La Nina, which is basically your surface temperatures out in the Pacific Ocean, those correlate well to our jet stream here in Michigan. So last year we were going from a La Nina to a neutral phase to an El Nino, which is a phase we're currently in. We're in El Nino, which is why this winter's been so warm. So the neutral years are the years that have the most severe weather in Michigan. This year, the El Nino or the Enzo phase is weakening El Nino into a neutral phase April, May, and June. If we can stay close to that neutral phase before it changes into a La Nina later in the summer, this year may be very active because it seems to have a correlation with neutral years that will spike our severe weather, typically speaking, on a historical basis. So, yes, I see potential early on in spring that we could be active April, May, June. But if we go quickly into the La Nina phase, the weak La Nina is fourth out of, I want to say, 8 or 9 categories on activity and severe weather. So if we go into a weak La Nina, it becomes less favorable for severe weather. It's all going to depend on how quickly things can change or how slowly they change, really. Any other questions, guys? up, Chris? What's up, Kevin? If you guys haven't already, hit that like button. We would appreciate that. Is Chicago going to have rain tomorrow? Yes. Yes, they will. And Chicago should remain pretty much all rain, maybe a brief period of snow, but over there should be pretty much all rain, just like south of Michigan here. Hello from Weberville. Hello from Northern Oakland, Tracy and Lena. Hello from Memphis, says Leah. Flint from Lori. Imagine if we can get a solar eclipse with thunderstorms off in the distance. Just a random thought. You're thinking, Drew. You're thinking, but the yeah, we have a solar eclipse coming here in April, so we'll have to kind of play it out. But well, thank you, Red Dozer. Appreciate that. I'm going to say school closings, Jeff, are going to be pretty much tied to that 3 to 6 zone. You may see a few zones or the few schools in that 1 to 3 zone close, but I think the impacts from that zone will be less felt than further north. So I'm going to say the highest probability of school closing is going to be up north of Grand Rapids, up toward the Gaylord, Atlanta, Alpena, West Branch areas. Are the Tigers going to have good weather for spring training? Oh man, you guys are killing me on long-term questions. Are you talking like short term or just overall for the spring in general? Because I know that spring training is about to get underway if this hasn't already. But in terms of this spring, I mean, like I said, late February looks pretty warm. March should probably come back down to average. But if you think about average this time of year, March temperatures are on the increase here, or the average temperatures into March are going to be on the increase here. So I think the average goes from like 28 to 34 here in February to like 35 to 45 in March. By the end of March, I think we're in the mid to high 50s. So once we hit average into March, we're going to be kind of smooth sailing, I think, into in the spring and summer. Ionia County, kind of on that borderline there between 3 to 6 and 1 to 3. I'm going to say you're going to be on the transition zone. So yeah, snow is possible for you as well as some rain mixing in there. Shouldn't have too much in the way of accumulation. 1 to 3 is what we have forecasted for you. Yeah, Tim, for March in terms of temperature and storminess and stuff like that, um, it's a little bit too far out. We like to really stick to 3 weeks for the long-term pattern forecasting. So I could probably say the first part of March, I think is probably gonna be right around the average temperature wise. But again, a lot can change between now and then. But in terms of like the stormy pattern, I don't know. We're going to be heading toward that neutral phase, so we could start seeing some more activity pick up as we head into March and April. So average temperature, above average storminess, be a pure guess based on historical data. Oakland County is going to be on that transition zone there. We have you in the rain, and that's because the current models, or should I say the latest models, don't really have much in the way of snow, like 1 inch or so, with most of it being rain. So we feel like you guys are going to mostly stay rain, Oakland County. But again, if you guys do happen to get a little bit cooler temperatures than what it's forecasted, then you could definitely see a few inches of snowfall accumulation. But right now, I'm going to say Oakland County is going to be pretty much mostly rain. How many days in advance can we predict cloud cover? Accurately, probably about 1 to 2. Although we do have models that go out 84 hours for that. Um, they're very rarely accurate. Like for example, here's your cloud cover map on the NAM model, and that's what it's supposed to look like now. The black is clear, white is clouds. Move it, through the period here, uh, and it ends Sunday morning. So we do have cloud cover maps, but accuracy really honestly within 24 hours is best accuracy for that. Is snow going to stick during that? What exactly are you talking about, Jeff? During what? Genesee County, Fenton area. So again, you guys are right there on that line of what we call transition zone. It's going to depend on heavily on your surface temperatures. Right now, we're kind of think you're going to be mainly, mostly, eh, you know, it's really hard in Genesee County there because you guys are right there on that line. It could go either way for you, but again, I'm thinking 1 to 3. But if you guys are warmer, it should pretty much stay all rain for you. The county is kind of split on our forecast here. And if we look at the latest model here in terms of snowfall areas and stuff like that, we see Genesee County is basically split here between the bottom county 1 inch, the top of the county is 3 to 4 inches. So it's going to really heavily depend. It really is. We can go back one model, I think, here, or one model run, should I say. Here we go. So on the left side of your screen is the latest model run. On the right side of your screen is this afternoon's run. Or should I say this morning's run? What is this? This is the 12Z. Okay, so 12Z, which is a morning run. So a morning run on the right, latest run on the left. You can kind of see it did bump a little bit further south if you look closely. Not by much, but it did bump south. So this model over here did have Genesee County pretty much in the 1 inch zone, primarily rain. So Wayne County should be pretty much all rain, Brandy. Maybe some snowflakes mixing in, but chances of that being, accumulating very, very low for Wayne County. Timing wise, let's go back here to the timing map. Let's go ahead and get out of this. Go back over here to the forecasted radar. So for the Midland area, I say right around 8 to 10 a.m. for you guys over there. We see the heaviest snow working in, give or take an hour or two. We do see this initial band. I mentioned this at the start. This initial band we see across Michigan, I don't think that's going to be reaching the ground there. I think it's going to saturate the atmosphere, but it's going to evaporate as it falls. So I don't really expect much in the way out in front of this particular system. I think the bulk of this really moves on short right about this time frame, which is right around that 6 to 8 a.m. time frame, but moves fast. So it should reach you by about 8 to 9, 8 to 10 a.m. over there in Midland. Van Buren County, I'm going to say all rain for you. Again, you could have some snowflakes mixing in early, perhaps a brief period of freezing rain, but temperatures rise very quickly, and it's going to change to all rain for this system. So if there's going to be any mixing, it's probably going to happen pretty early. Drew, I saw that before I hopped on. Don't get me going on that. Oh man, you got me going on that now. Ottawa County, you guys are going to be pretty much on that again, that zone of 1 to 3 or rain. It's going to depend on your surface temperature, how it plays out. I'm going to say you're going to be probably mostly rain, but I'm going to say a few inches of slushy accumulation is possible. But the rain should melt all that, honestly. You may have a brief period of snow, then rain comes on top of it and just makes a slushy mess. Brandy, timing for the Wayne County area is going to be pretty much the exact same, right around that 6 to 8 start time. But again, I think it's going to really move quickly, so it should be clearing the state by 3. So right between the 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. time frame is the best time for rain. Yes, this is for tomorrow, Brandy. What about Coleman? So Coleman is in the 3 to 6 zone. You're gonna be on the edge there 1 to 3, but I think you're gonna be pretty much cold enough to stay all snow. So it's gonna be between that I'm gonna say probably the 3 to 6 zone for you up there. No problem, Brandy. Monroe's gonna be all rain. All right, guys. So recapping very quickly here before I hop off. Diana asked, flight from LA to Chicago to Grand Rapids, GR getting snow? It's possible. GR probably will get snow. But the main question is how much of it accumulates, because the temperatures are going to be pretty mild, right around 32, 33 degrees there. So even though you may get an inch or two of snow, maybe three, maybe 4 inches of snow, the rain's going to make that seem like it's going to be just slushy inches, or 1 to 2 inches, honestly. So you should be good flight wise. LA to Chicago, just going to be some rain. But from Chicago to GR, if you're driving, you'll be fine. If you're flying, the only issue would be probably Grand Rapids, but it shouldn't be that big of an issue. Okay, so recapping. We do have snow on the way tomorrow morning. It arrives right around 6 to 8 a.m. in the morning on the west side of Michigan here. We see that push across Michigan very rapidly here. So this is a model at 6 a.m., 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, noon, 1 o'clock, and by 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, it's exited the state. So 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. is your best time for snow and rain. Your total accumulation is 3 to 6 in the northern part of Michigan and eastern part of the UP, 1 to 3 up there in the UP, and then 1 to 3 zone. And that 1 to 3 zone is going to be probably shifting throughout the day, where temperatures are going to flirt with freezing. And depending on what each individual location does, you could have snow in one spot and rain in the other. So that zone is the most uncertain, and that zone should stay pretty much between the 1 to 3 zone if anything does accumulate, just because rain's going to mix in. South of that zone is all rain, between probably a tenth and 3/10 of an inch of accumulation of rain there. Nothing significant as far as rain goes. Freezing rain and mixing is possible in certain areas. I'm going to probably say the 1 to 3 zone has the best bet to mix in between Grand Rapids over to Carson City over towards the Flint Sandusky area. That area, in my opinion, has the best chance to mix in freezing rain. We may see it in that rain zone. I don't really think it's going to happen, though. If it does happen, it'll be so short-lived because temperatures rise very quickly. The window for that is going to be early morning, probably between 6, 8, maybe 9 a.m. Shouldn't be any issue. And if anything does get slicked up from freezing rain, it should melt pretty quickly because temperatures go from 32 to 38, 39 degrees pretty rapidly throughout the morning. So snowfall rates up in the 3 to 6, 1 to 3 zones could reach about an inch per hour in the heaviest bands. And again, there's really no wind concern with this. The winds do pick up later on in the day, although I don't think it's going to be enough to really start being concerned about power outages. 25 mile per hour gusts, 35 mile per hour gusts, nothing significant with winds, but it might get breezy. So that's your recap. That's all I got for you guys. So I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button on your way out. We will go live if anything changes tomorrow, although I don't anticipate, so don't expect one. But if anything significant changes, we will go live tomorrow morning to cover it, as well as post updates on our page. With that being said, guys, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. Stay safe.